Okay, great. Welcome to the Genetic Genius Podcast, Dr. Laura Sanchez. I'm so excited to talk to you today about all the amazing topics that we are going to discuss. First, let's just hear about you, your story, what you do in this world, just so the audience can get to know you.
Okay, hi, Dr. Lulu, and thank you so much for this invitation. I'm so excited about this podcast. And because I'm doing it in my second language as well, so it's like something different.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a physician. I'm from Bogota, Colombia. This is where I live, and I have my private office. And I just start like through my medical records because I was suffering from atopic dermatitis like for very long time. And you know, this is a chronic illness where you cannot have like an answer or a cure. It's like you have to live with that through all your life. And I have like a very, very huge crisis, like maybe 2 years ago. And as a doctor, I start like searching and, you know, looking for new answers and looking in my daily habits, in nutrition, in emotional health as well. And I start like having some new resources for myself. I just change my food, and I start making an elimination diet, and it helped me a lot. And well, I start like doing new things as well, and I like surprisingly realized I was getting better, you know. So I was like, okay, maybe here's my path, and I need to go deeper in this knowledge so I can apply it to myself, but maybe this is like my way to help other people as well. So that's how I get into the functional medicine, and with the IFM I just start like making all the certification process. And I did my specialization here in Bogota, Colombia, in alternative medicine. I was at first like very attracted to traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and at last I'm like studying emotional biodecoding. That is where you find like the emotional language for your symptoms. Every physical symptom has something emotional you are not aware of because it's in your unconscious. So I will say that my life purpose and my life mission here is just to give my patients like new answers. Like, you are tired of your medication, you are tired of not having any answer, and you haven't looked into your daily habits, and you want to eat like better, and you want to be conscious of your emotions. So I'm here to guide you, and it's just your process. I will tell you what resources you can apply, how can you do it, but at the end it's just your process, and you decide if you do it, you don't do it, if you know, like you take your path, and you're like very responsible of your health, you know. So I think that could it's like the resume of my life purpose.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Dr. Laura. You know, it's amazing how many of us start on our own personal journey because of a health condition, right? Where we learn from ourselves, and then we can be a mirror for our patients and help people. But then we discover, like you were saying, new roads to help people. And I really appreciate that. And I'm really excited for us to talk about the emotional component today, which I know is a big aspect of your work. And you said that you live in Bogota, Colombia, right? That's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Wow. I love Colombia. I can't wait to come back and visit. Maybe we'll come visit you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I will wait for you. You're so welcome here.
Oh, thank you. So let's dive in. First, I wanted to talk about like daily habits, and you were mentioning how you started learning about nutrition and other things in your own aspect with the dermatitis. So, let's talk about some like daily habits and foundations of health. What are important daily habits that listeners can start to bring into their own lives that can help them make this switch, as you were saying?
Okay. Well, first of all, if we talk about nutrition, I
Mhm.
will say that the most important thing is to start eating real food. You know, food that comes from the ground, that has like a life cycle. You know, like gas
Mhm.
that grows, gets old, then dies.
Right.
Because yeah, because I mean, if your main sources of food are just processed foods or foods that are full of preservants, conservants, preservatives, I think
Mhm.
it's a word, and colorants and all these chemicals. I mean, that information you're giving to each one of your cells. So
Mm.
I will say that that's the first and most important thing. I will say that the second one is like to start getting off sugars,
Mm.
like refined sugars, natural sugars, and all these like yeah, like artificial sweeteners that
Mhm.
they're available. Because I mean, if you give like the more amount of good information to yourself, then your body will experience changes and
Mm.
some benefits as well. In the daily habits, I will say that the second one is like sleep, good sleep. It's important to have a proper restoration during the night, that you can sleep at least 7 to 8 hours, and that uh, in the morning you will wake up like you have energy, that you are happy, that you
Mm.
have your proper rest. I feel like sometimes sleep is just like a um, people have this conception that sleep is like a waste of time, you know, like if you're
Right.
more productive, you are better and you are like more healthy and everything, because like the main value of someone is to be productive, and when you sleep you're not productive, so it's just a waste of time. But if you realize how important is sleep in so many processes in the body, in the brain, but just not in the brain, but in your whole body, then you would appreciate having a proper sleep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, what else? I think that stress control, stress management, and also knowing how is your environment. You know, how is your relationship within yourself, but with everybody else. Because if you live in a place that where you hate everybody, you know, you have like really toxic relationships with your
Mhm.
partner or your sons. That's really like being in a circle when you keep staying sick because you're feeling stressed.
Mhm.
And of course, the way you talk to yourself, that's like your relationship within, like your personal relationship, how you talk to you, how you treat you, everything. I think it's really important. And I will say that like the daily habits are just, yeah, like the foundations are
Mm.
these four things.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, Dr. Laura. I loved how you talked about food. I always, that's one of the key things, and people forget when you were talking about the life cycle of the plant. It's so important, especially even if you have, I always recommend it's great to have even just a plant like on your desk or in your environment, but fresh food can, like you said, totally change our cells and change how we feel about everything. And then when you were talking about sugar, oh my gosh, sugar has become such a like a staple in people's houses, in their environment. And when they, especially as you said, when they're eating processed foods, it's just amazing how much sugar, when you look at it, you know, if you read a label or if you start to
Yeah.
analyze your diet, you're like, wow, I didn't know I was
Yeah, it's like
eating
really
so much.
overwhelming
Yeah,
when
totally.
you realize this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, I feel like people need to like give themselves the opportunity to just like you have like a 1 month challenge without sugar or without processed food, so you can like prove that in your body, you know, because so many people is like, oh, it's just blah blah blah, you're so strict about food. I don't believe that that's really a problem
Mm-hmm.
related to my health, everything. But I just say it like, I mean, you don't have to believe me, you know, you can prove
Right.
it in your own body. So just
Right.
try it. Just
Mm-hmm.
make like 1 month, you know, like a challenge for just 1 month where you don't eat any sugar, and then you can experience some like withdrawal symptoms, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like you can get some, yeah, you can get like kind of mad, you have some like irritation with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you experience that in your body, then you can know if it's true or if we are just talking blah, blah, blah.
Right, totally. Yeah, I'm actually doing myself a 30-day no sugar. I don't eat a lot of sugar, but it creeps in. You know, you're like, oh, I'll just have a cookie or something. And so I decided in September 1st myself, I'm like, I'm just going to cut out all forms of sugar. And I have so much more energy, you know, to
Yeah.
live my life when I'm not having the sugar, because I don't have the ups and the downs of eating
Yeah. And
sugar.
also you can experience like mental clarity, you know, like you
Mm-hmm.
feel like more, oh, it's more clear, everything to me. I'm
Yeah.
I'm encouraging 21 day without sugar in Instagram.
Oh,
And
great.
yeah, and yesterday some people just wrote me like, I'm feeling really bad, like really moody. It's really difficult. I feel like the anxiety of having to take some sugar. And it's and I'm just telling them like, it's something that you can like like experience for, I mean, it's not unusual because you can have sugar addiction. Then if you are addicted, then you will have the withdrawal symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really liked how you put that emotional piece onto it, because I think a lot of people think, you know, oh, sugar can make me have more weight, or, you know, all the things that you hear about with sugar, pre-diabetes, etc. But when they don't think about all the emotional aspects that sugar can cause for our body. And I really liked that component that you brought up. And anxiety is a big one. And that's part of that sleep piece that you were talking about too, because you know, why did we decide we needed to work, work, work all the time and take a nap and relax and have fun,
Mm.
right?
I mean, you deserve it.
Right.
Trust me, you deserve it. You're a good person. You deserve it. You need to rest, to take a nap.
Right. Um, let's see. So you talked about those kind of main, like, 4 health habits or foundations that you thought were key. And what are recommendations you have for how do you make a habit stick? You know, you talked about doing something for 30 days. Do you have, you know, a recommendation or some kind of, you know, like a clue, like how people can, you know, if they start to fall off the wagon, so to speak, of their challenge, how can they make something stick longer term?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's important to have self-compassion. You
Mm.
know, we are not perfect. We are not perfect. We don't have to make everything perfect, you know,
Mm,
like have 100% in everything, like the highest scores.
right.
And everything is a process. And it's important to be conscious of that, that you like learn to make everything step by step. And I think that the best advice is just to live like 1 day at a time, you know, just
Mm-hmm.
not like be in the rush of, I want to end already this challenge. I want to
Right.
be already at day 30. So just like step by step. And if you know, like get off the wagon, how you say it,
Yeah.
you have the opportunity to start it again when you decide to do it. So if you didn't make it this time, it doesn't mean that you are not gonna make it at all, you know. So it's important to be like your best coach. You have self compassion,
Mhm.
and just think like, okay, what did I learn in this process? What did I experience? And how can I make it better? You
Mm.
know, and what are my motivations to do it? Because one of the things that we have to be aware of when we are making daily, like daily basis changes is that you have to have a motivation.
Mm.
Why are you doing that?
Right.
Just because my doctor told me to do it, or because I have a higher purpose? And then when you reconnect with that, it's important to just like, you know, be again in the same path. Um, so I will say that that's the first thing, to
Mhm.
be like very loving and
Mm.
compassionate with yourself, like a kid that is just start learning how to walk.
Mhm.
We just make one step and then we can run. We cannot,
Right.
you know, like just get birth and then run. And the second one is that when you're having anxiety for sweets, it's really important to identify if you are, for example, thirsty, because sometimes we don't like differentiate both. And
Mhm.
because we don't drink water, we don't know if we're thirsty or not. So it's important to drink water, you
Mm,
know, so
yeah.
you're feeling anxious and just drink water. And if you realize that I have to eat something, I'm feeling like really anxious about food, then like the good fats are a really good option. So you can
Mm.
have a piece of coconut, you can have some nuts, you can
Mhm.
have some seeds, um, yeah, some oils as well,
Mhm.
and they are really tasty and they give you satiety, so you can just eat them and then you see how you feel. And I think that the third thing that you have to do is to be very aware if you're having emotional
Mhm.
connection to the sweets.
Right.
So yeah, so it's important to just like take some deep breaths
Mm.
and realize, how are you feeling? You know, how was your day? Why do you feel like the need of taking some sugar at the same time of the day? Or
Mhm.
is it after you have some fight? Or
Mm.
is it while you're doing some work and you're feeling like preoccupied of if it's gonna work? I don't know. I mean, it's just to take some breaths and start asking yourself how I feel, what I am thinking, how was my day,
Mhm.
um, and then you can start making connections, and you can uh, say like, yeah, maybe I take sugar because that's my comfort friend, you know, and you can then
Right.
replace that with other comfort friends, such
Mhm.
as, I don't know, taking a run or whatever.
Mhm.
It's like the positive intention that is behind your sugar intake, and then you replace it with something better. But you can just realize that if you take a pause and ask yourself all these questions.
Yeah, those are great. Thank you, Dr. Laura. And I really liked how you brought that first piece of self-compassion. When like you said, when we're on the journey, we're like, okay, I can do this. I have 30 days, for example. And we're so hard on ourselves sometimes. And then we
Yeah,
give up, instead of just, and one step, like you said, one step at a time. And then if you do have a setback, look at it, like you said, and examine like, well, why did I have that sugar? Was it connected to that emotional piece? Those are so key. And sometimes I even find with patients, if they have a journal, and write down when they are having those like feelings of wanting to have that food, even if it's not sugar, some other
Mm-hmm.
kind of food, and there's an emotional component that goes with it, they can then start to examine like, oh, is it myself? Is it a relationship? Is it stress? You know, there's so many
Yeah.
aspects when it comes to food, and as you know, complicated, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. I think you gave some great recommendations about how the patients and our listeners can learn to help their habits stick a little bit better when they're working on the fast, just to have compassion and examine what's going on around them. And like you said, to take a breath and just like, okay, what's going on in my environment? Like you said, with relationships.
Yeah.
So
And
key.
then start again if you want to. I
Mhm.
mean, you can
Right.
start again 100 times if you want, and
Hmm.
that doesn't make it wrong. You're
Right.
doing it good, because every time you start again, maybe you will last more days. You know, the first
Right.
time you try it, you were just 5 days without anything you want to change, and then after that, just 15 days, and that's really great advance. You
Mm.
know, so great progress. So
Yeah.
it's important to just like encourage that and to realize that, to be like, oh yeah, I'm so good, I did 5 more days
Mhm.
since the last time, yay.
Yeah,
That's
right. Yes. Yeah, some type of, and when I'm doing something, a new thing that I haven't done before, like if I'm doing removing sugar or some other new health activity that I want to try, I like to have some kind of reward for myself, like a new book or a piece of artwork or a piece of jewelry, something that I can like work towards. That's one of the things I like to do, just because then I can like, oh, and then I did this walk one time with my mom where we did 60 miles. And at the end, my husband gave me this beautiful necklace. And now every time I wear it, I can, I remember like, oh yeah, I did it. I did like 60
yeah,
miles.
you feel really proud of yourself.
Yeah. Okay, great, good. Let's move on and talk about biodecoding, one of the aspects that you do in your practice, which I'm so excited to learn about. I did a little, of course, geeky research, but
Uh-huh.
first, can you talk about to our listeners, like, what is bio reprogrammation? Is that the correct way to say it? Or biodecoding?
Yeah, biodecoding.
Mm-hmm. And what therapies are integrated in the aspect of that as well? So first, explain about what it is, and then what kind of therapies are in that modality?
Okay. Well, in our mind, I mean, the way we we think, we react, um, depends on our conscious mind
Mm-hmm.
and on our unconscious mind. The conscious mind is just kind of the 2 to 4% of every action we take and the way we think. And the unconscious mind is more of the 90%. It's like almost 98%.
Mm-hmm.
So the information we have in our unconscious, is being like established in our childhood,
Mm-hmm.
until like 7 years old, and we get this information through the people that raise us. So
Mm-hmm.
they can be our parents, grandparents, I don't know. And it's really like interesting, because when you just like do some analysis in the way we behave,
Mm-hmm.
we don't see the world it is. We see the world through our eyes, how we are, like everyone has some glasses, and through these glasses we see the world, and these glasses are our perceptions of the world and how we relate with the world
Mm-hmm.
and everything in our environment. And this is conditioned by all the unconscious beliefs, behaviors we have established in our brain. So sometimes we can be like our unconscious and our, like inner voice can be like, yeah, you can do it. People is good. You can be healthy. You can do everything you want. You can forgive. You can have empathy with the other, understand why the other do this or that and not take it personally. Or
Mm-hmm.
you can overcome some challenges in your life, sometimes.
Yeah.
But other times, your inner voice can be like, um, like you cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everybody is wrong. Nobody loves you.
Mm-hmm.
You are not worthy of anything. And if you keep telling yourself that, and you keep relating with your environment, having these conversations, then you could have some physical symptoms that
Mm-hmm.
are teaching you how you have to change yourself and just like again stop and ask, is this true? Yeah, everybody is a bad person. Everybody hates me. I don't know, like,
Right.
and just analyze, like just check that. So biodecoding talks about that every part in our body speaks a biological language and as well an emotional language. So
Mm-hmm.
there is an emotional meaning in all the symptoms we have,
Mm-hmm.
and they are like these symptoms are act or like chose accordingly to what do you need to learn or change. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, for example, mm, um, well, there was this case of
Mm-hmm.
some patients that were having a gastric tumor,
Mm-hmm.
and if you see like what's the meaning of a gastric tumor, the stomach wants to digest everything we receive from our environment. That can be
Mm-hmm.
physical, like food, but also like more intangible information, like something somebody told you,
Mm-hmm.
or like really overwhelming situation in your life that you feel that you cannot overcome, like a divorce or a
Mm-hmm.
financial rupture or um, I don't know, something
Something
in
super
your
stressful.
yeah, super stressful. And then you feel like you cannot accept that situation in your life, like you cannot digest that situation.
Mm. Oh
You
yeah.
just cannot approve that, and you are very resistant to the situation being in your life. And I mean, like, just keep going. If you don't accept that situation, life is like, okay, it's your problem because life keeps going.
Right.
And sometimes, if you need to digest this situation, then your stomach will produce more um, hypochloric acid
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that you need to digest. So
Mm-hmm.
it's how your body, like reacts.
Right.
Or when you have like some symptoms, for example, in your legs, they talk about movement. So how are you moving in your life?
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling to how strong are you feeling to take the next step, or are you feeling paralyzed, like you cannot move?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because I mean, my first approach of course is the physical one,
Yeah.
but sometimes there's people that, I mean, you can change habits, they can eat better, they can yeah, like do everything right, but
Mm-hmm.
they just don't get better. And then when you ask them, how is your personal life? How do you feel about your work or
Mm-hmm.
your relationships or anything that is related to personal life? And you can see in their eyes and in the way they talk to you that they are feeling really bad about this personal situation, and they can start crying, and
Mm-hmm.
you can feel their pain. So I
Right.
mean, this is something that is conditioning that you cannot get better because
Mm-hmm.
it's something that lives with you every day. So that's where I think that these kinds of therapies or approaches are really useful because you're having like the whole package, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
being really holistic, and to understand that we as humans, we're not just our physical body, and that we can change the environment of ourselves just with our thoughts, just with making conscious some unconscious beliefs and yeah, like behaviors that we have learned that they are not in our best purpose. So yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, that was great. And it's amazing how our physical body can react to an emotional situation. And we have such a disconnect, right? Where we tune out because our body almost says like, I can't deal with this emotion for
Mm-hmm.
so long. I think for that one instant we have the response maybe we can deal with, but then, like as you said, if it's something that goes on and on and on, our physical body then has to figure out a way to adapt to the emotion. And so I love that approach then looks from the cellular and systematic aspect from the emotional perspective, because it's all tied together.
Yeah.
And when we separate them into their own boxes, of course, we can't see the best path to help the patient or the person when they're so disconnected, when actually they're one being, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so what does healing the emotional body then have what's the impact on the physical body? So does, like you said, with the case of the tumor, is the working with the biodecoding aspect, does that then help the physical cells shift to allow the healing by working on the emotional body?
Yeah. If you like get like the message of the symptom, you know, like what is asking of you to change in your personality, in your mind, in the way you behave, then your symptom should resolve. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have experienced it in myself because one of the paths I took because of the atopic dermatitis is that I realized was very, very connected to stress and to being like, like being very anxious about work, specifically work. For example, my dermatitis was in my hands, sometimes in my eye. So hands represent, you know, like hand labor. So it relates to work, and your face relates to identity. So it was like how my work was defining my identity. And then when I was going deeper into some questions, I was like shocked, you know, like what? Really? I was feeling like that? But yeah, I was feeling like that. And after that, I was starting to feel better because I was using too much corticoids, and I decided to stop using them. And like 5 months after this process, I just start getting my skin better. And I mean, it depends on the process of everyone, you know,
right.
and because you can have some challenges and then you feel better, but then there's some challenge and the symptom comes back.
Right.
So that's like a process, you know, like oh, I just realized it and then my symptom is gone. If you really like fully consciously realize like the message, then yeah, you can get better, but the symptom can resolve. But sometimes it's a long process.
Right. Life is a journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, it's not just like one day, it can be longer, and sometimes if we look at the enjoyment of the journey, which it can be hard when we're having a physical ailment, of course, but there's some learning process along the way.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're sick, of course you feel impatient because you want to have results like as fast as you can.
Yeah, I
know,
want to
like,
get better right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why people used to get like the magic pill, no? What's
Right.
magic pill that's going to resolve all my problems.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's not like that.
No, not like that. It takes a little bit of work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And then, so in regards to the biodecoding, does it work on, you said that you mentioned it works on the cells. Does it work on the genetics and the DNA as well?
Yeah, well, if you like get into the epigenetics files,
Mm-hmm.
I mean everything that is around your environment will change your DNA.
Right.
You know? I mean your genetic predisposition or your genetic your genetic load does not determine that you will have an illness. It's like your genes are just like the bullet of a gun, and then you, with the way you behave every day of your life, how you think, how you feel, how are your daily habits, is the one that triggers this gun, this bullet. So that's something that epigenetics is studying, and of course our thoughts and the way we feel about ourselves will influence the cell and will influence the genes and the DNA.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. I love that. It's our thoughts change everything, but especially if we're going down to the microscopic level of the DNA. Of course, it's going to change the DNA,
Yeah.
right? And people don't think like, oh, if I change my DNA, it's something so tiny and so minute that we don't really always think about. Like, I don't wake up in the morning, have my coffee, and be like, how am I going to change my DNA today?
Yeah.
But I can,
Yeah.
So yeah, having that emotional component is so key, like you said.
Yeah, and it's like really powerful information, because at the end you're responsible of your health, like fully responsible.
Yeah.
And that's scary sometimes, because it's like, what? So why? What I'm not doing to get better? Or
Right.
when you have to take responsibility, sometimes, it's scary.
Right. It can be a hard place to be, but that's why
Yeah.
listeners out there, you can seek out professional help. And so, to guide you down the road, like you were talking about, because it can be a tricky road to navigate when you're in the place of feeling ill. It's like you said with the glasses earlier, like we just have they become dark because it's when we're ill, because everything just starts to be, you can't find what you're looking for in the sea of darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does a session look like when you're doing the biodecoding? Can you talk to our listeners about, say a patient would come in for a session, or do you combine it with your other sessions, mainly when you're doing the acupuncture and the functional medicine? Does it get more combined, or is it a single session by itself?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the patient, because when you do a process of biodecoding, I mean, I cannot do the work for you. You have to do it, and that means that you have to, want to be conscious of everything that is happening around your life. So, as I said before, I can be your guide and tell you like what is this meaning, what you should look, what are the like the resources we can apply. But if at the end you say like, oh no, I don't wanna, like seeing these stinky issues in my life, then biodecoding is not for you. So when someone then says like, yeah, I want to do the process, I want to do like all the homework you have to do,
Right. Yeah.
then we start just like getting into the meaning of the symptom and getting into the meaning of the organ that is involved in the symptom as well. And we usually just start looking into like the present. We start from the present backwards.
Right.
until we get, for example, in something that is called like, well, I don't know how to say it in English, but it's like when you just are you you are 9 months before your mother's pregnancy and
Mm-hmm.
2 years after your birth.
Mm-hmm.
And also we have to see all your family environment, because sometimes it's really interesting how you can see in all families, like all my aunts have IBS, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all my family has some gastric issues. So when you keep like looking forward into all your family history, then you can start realizing if there is something that is very linked to your family
Mm-hmm.
and the way your family behaves.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes families are just like too hermetic and too close, and just like
Right.
the perception is like very limited. So you're like having that in your back. So we start like doing that. There are some protocols that we do for uh, like PNL, that's called like reprogrammation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like reprogrammation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Reprogramming the cells.
yeah, like your
Mm-hmm.
mind and the way you speak
Mm-hmm.
is called neurolinguistic reprogrammation.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's like the process. And sometimes, well, the medical approach is just like having a better nutrition, just having some food plan, um, maybe using some nutraceuticals.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes where there is pain, acupuncture is it's a great treatment. So it depends. It depends
Right.
on
Depends on the
what,
patient.
yeah, on what the patient is going to take
Mm.
and to try, and how is like his compromise of just making everything it takes to get better,
Right.
because we have to just like be really have respect on everyone's decision.
Right. Yeah. I think what you were saying and what I loved was like having the patient have the compliance, the will to want to get better, and that's such a huge part, as practitioners, we can, like you said, only be the guide. It really has to be from their internal will. And it sounds like with the biodecoding that because it's that emotional component to the healing, they have to really be ready because you can't
Yeah,
release an emotion if you're not ready, right? You have to really,
yeah, you have to be ready to do the work,
yeah,
to look
exactly.
inside,
Mhm. Yeah,
because that's the work, to look inside and uh, like try to know you better.
right. Yeah, get to know yourself better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, great. I think that sounds wonderful. I think we've learned such a great piece about the biodecoding and the emotional aspect that's so connected to the cellular body. And now I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into your wonderful knowledge of the digestive system. And I know that's such a great piece of what you do. Can you talk about, for our listeners, why the digestive system in general is so important as a system to address when it comes to overall healing?
Yeah, digestive system, it's like a main node when you are having like any health issue. Well, first of all, why is it important? Because I mean, it's the way that food has to come into our bodies, and it may sound like silly or pretty basic, but at the end, what you're taking from food, it's information, it's
Mhm.
energy. And if you don't have like all your mechanisms like properly aligned and perfect, then you cannot take this information from food, and then you can not keep grow. You cannot keep growing and keep giving to yourself everything they need for all the processes they need to make in immune system, hormonal system, or in detox system, everything you need to stay alive and stay healthy.
Yeah.
So one thing that it's really important about digestive system is that 90% of the immune system is just produced there. If you have a good digestive system, then you will have good immune support and immune system. And if you are not good in your immune system, then you can have allergies, then you can have an autoimmune disease. I mean, you can have so many, like a wide range of diseases. So yeah, when we approach any patient, it's important to know how is their digestive system. And another question important to make is if they're going to the bathroom every day, you know, because constipation usually is like very normalized. Like, no, I just go to the bathroom
once a week,
every 3 days. Yeah, something like that. It's like that's not normal.
Right.
That's not normal. And something else is that like the bacteria we have in our digestive system, the microbiome.
Yeah.
Microbiome, exactly. The microbiome plays a major role in metabolic processes, immune processes. So yeah, it's like the house for all these bacteria. So I mean, they need a good house and a proper house. So we have to do everything we can to give them that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's so key to, you know, when, like you said, when our house is solid, everything around us in our body can work efficiently, like you said, with the detox system and the hormonal system and metabolism. So many people don't realize, like, the gut is the key to the door to everything else.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny with my patients, I always say, we're going to talk about poop. So it's because it's, you know, it's just, I'm sure, let's talk about for you, what do you, I know that you specialize in helping patients with constipation, and what do you talk about with them, you know, on that, like, what's that conversation with them about how their body is functioning? Does that make sense? Am I being clear? You know, like, let's like have an example, like you're asking me, like, so you're going to the bathroom, etc.
Well, at first they're like shocked, you know, like it's like funny for them if you ask them like, how does your poop look? You know, like what are the characteristics of your poop? And they're like, I don't look my poop.
Right.
Well, you should look your poop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, always look in the toilet bowl.
Yeah. And I mean, the constipation is related to having like some difficulties in the detox system, because the liver is like the metabolic brain of the body, in meaning that it just detoxifies everything that we need to get rid of, that we ingest, or just hormones that are not working anymore. And the liver then needs like to have one route that can evacuate all these toxics that were detoxified. And the large intestine is one of these routes, and feces are one of these routes.
Right.
So if you don't go to the bathroom every day, and you go like in a pleasant way, you know, without having pain that you have to suffer when you go to the bathroom,
straining,
yeah, exactly, then you can be having like some kind of intoxication state, because that's the way everything you don't need in your body goes out. Yeah.
Right.
So that's like the easiest way to explain to my patients that. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're like, oh, really? No, that's really bad. I don't want to be intoxicated. What do I have to do?
Right. Yeah. And when that backup in the large intestine, like you said, happens, it's like the toxins have nowhere to go. So of course they're going to stay in the body and then be reabsorbed. We have to get the
Mm-hmm.
toxins out.
Mm-hmm.
hmm and what are there some specific conditions that you see in your practice that are common with constipation, or is it more patient dependent and more broad?
Well, dietary deficiencies, like
Mhm.
they eat a lot of processed foods, they
Mhm.
don't eat any fiber at
Mhm.
all, any good fats as well.
Mhm.
So that's like the main thing. When they just start changing their food, they start feeling better.
Mm.
And something else is that they have with high frequency magnesium deficiency.
Mhm.
And you can know that because they tell you that some associated symptoms are they have like muscular stiffness, that
Mhm.
they're having cramps as well,
Mhm.
trouble sleeping. Sometimes women have PMS,
Mhm.
and there's migraines as well.
Right.
So sometimes that's like the common, yeah, like the most common thing. And
Mhm.
then when they have like they change their food, their nutrition, and then have some supplementation, magnesium supplementation, then
Mhm.
they can go to the bathroom without any problem.
Mhm.
And like other cause that is like kind of common is that it's called like the retention habit, like when you want to go to the bathroom but you just like block it, you're like not
Oh, right.
going
Hold
to the
it.
bathroom.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
hold it, and you just like wait.
Mm.
And there's something important that reflects in the last portion of the large intestine.
Mhm.
The reflex that it's like natural, and
Right.
it's in the morning in most of the cases, and you should embrace it, like
Right.
if you're feeling this reflex, it's important that you go to the bathroom when you are having it, because this retention habit is one of the like leading causes of constipation. And when you ask it to
Mm.
your patients, they will tell you, oh no, I don't like to use any other bathrooms different from the bathrooms at my home, and I
Mhm.
don't like to use it in other places, so I just hold it. And
Right.
when you hold it, then you are like contributing, like, yeah, having some contributions to your constipation problem.
Yeah, you tell your body the different message. Like you shouldn't go every day. You should just hold it in that kind of volcanoes, right? More and more into the
Yeah.
having more constipation and backfires, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and
hmm
and how this reflex is, and because this reflex is just natural,
hmm
then you cannot force it when you just ignore it before,
Right. Yeah.
Then if you're already at home and you want to go to the bathroom and everything, well, the reflex may not come, and then maybe it's more difficult for you to go to the bathroom. So that's why it's important to stop having this retention issue.
Yeah, that's so key. And are there specific, going back to that kind of biodecoding aspect, are there specific emotions that you see common with constipation?
Yeah, anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
but like being really preoccupied about the future,
Mm.
and just holding to the situation, like holding and not letting go everything that happens in your life day by day. So it's like you hold to a situation and you think that this situation has to be the way you think it has to be, so you are like being really in control, and just not flowing with everything that is happening in your life. So constipation, what is retention? You know, like
Yeah.
you keep in your body like last uh, the last things of digestion. You know, so it's like your body does not need these feces that are in your intestine. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like the same, you know, like you take something from the environment, you just digest it, you take what is good for you, maybe some learning, but then you just hold to the situation and you just don't flow with it, let it go, but you keep like trying to control. And that's one of the things that is related to decoding. And in constipation, we have as well like really low intake of water.
Right.
And water means liquid. Liquid means like money. So if you're worried about money because you're feeling that money is really scarce,
Mm-hmm.
then like this, yeah, there's a scarcity of money. You know,
Uh-huh.
like you're having some troubles with this, then there's something you can find in you know in like your main thoughts, and that's what you think like since you wake up till you go
Mm-hmm.
back to bed at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, it's amazing how many emotions we have connected to going to the bathroom, right? And a lot of people don't think about that, or even sometimes don't even think about going to the bathroom at
Yeah.
all. But yeah, I loved how you said that, with the anxiety and then the control factor, like
Mhm.
controlling the life and then not being in the flow, letting just
Mhm.
everything flow naturally. And I love that little correlation you said about water and money. I hadn't heard that. That was so cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, okay. We need to kind of wrap up today, but I wanted you to talk a little bit about a couple of things. Just how people can find you. Is the best way to find you is going to your website. Is that correct? To the Dr. A, LauraSanchez.com.
Mhm.
And then and
Yeah.
that's where they can learn about your blog.
Yeah, I have my blog in my website, and I also we can keep it connected through Instagram or
Great.
Facebook. I
Mhm.
use that really much,
Great.
and
They could follow you the same thing. It's the at Dr. A Laura M. Sanchez, right? That's your Instagram.
mhm. Yeah,
Perfect.
exactly.
Yeah. Great. And you also have programs too that you do and you're doing a constipation program. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And how
yeah.
can listeners find out about that? Those of them that want to have constipation and want to get better, which there's a lot of people out there that have constipation. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So how can they find out about that on your website?
Yeah, it's in my website, and of course, when I open this program, because
Uh-huh.
it's not like ongoing all the time, because
Okay.
I'm like being like the guide to the people that is like is participating in the program, and we have some meetings.
Mhm.
Mm, so when the program, I'm opening the program, I just like tell everybody through Instagram or my website
Great.
as well. So yeah,
Do you have a one coming up soon where people could keep their eye out?
yeah, next year
Great.
around February.
Oh, perfect. After the holidays. That's the perfect time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, great. Good. One last question, Dr. Laura. If you had an unlimited budget and funding, what would you do with that money to help impact the planet?
mm, I will say that uh, getting people to know themselves better. I
Mm,
think it helps to uh, it helps them to have like better relationships, to be better people, And then when you are like very conscious of who you are, you live with purpose, you're happy, you have a healthy relationship, then you can help others grow and you can be like a more healthy person, not being like the toxic one, like just mocking everybody. And I believe that if we can be like more conscious and healthy and happy community, then we are more conscious on how we relate with the environment, and we can be more conscious on what decisions we make that can affect a plant, a river, an ocean. So I think the change starts within us in the way we relate to ourselves in the most loving, compassionate way. And if we do that with us, then we can do that with others, including animals, including plants, and of course, other human beings. So I will say that, I will invest in that.
I love it. I'll give you all the money in the world. I love that. Oh, great. Thanks, Dr. Laura. It's been such a pleasure to have you as a guest today. Do you want to say anything to the listeners in your native language?
Ok, ya. Espero que hayan disfrutado este podcast y que sea de mucho crecimiento y aprendizaje para todos.
Thank you so much. It's been such a joy, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, thank you for your invitation. It was such a nice talk. Well, I hope everybody enjoys it as well.
Yes.